Hey everyone, welcome back to the How to Podcast series. I have a podcaster on who, if you love animals, and we all should, this podcaster on here today will help you fall in love with them even more and connect with them in a very meaningful way. And Paloma is with me today, and we're excited to have her on, and it's going to be really a great conversation. Welcome to the How to Podcast series. Glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
It's exciting. Okay, let's talk about your podcast. I love it, by the way, listening to your show and enjoying how you do your show. Share with everybody about your podcast. What is it all about and the name of your show?
Well, my podcast is called Animal Empathy, and it's about animals. It's about how we communicate with animals. And I try to bring in different ways of communicating with animals. I am an animal communicator, have been an animal communicator for over 20 years. So, but obviously there are other ways of communicating with animals, like some types of therapies or, like some type of trainings and stuff like that. So I try to bring in different types on how to communicate with animals because all of them really require animal empathy.
Animals are so giving. That's why we have therapy dogs, for example, who can sense when something's not right. We have dogs that can sense when we're medically not right. It's amazing to know the connection that animals have to us. There's a cartoon that comes to my mind as we talk. There's a man sitting on a bench, and beside him is his dog sitting on the ground beside him. You're kind of looking at the back of them, and there's a bubble above the man's head, and he's thinking about all the things he has to do and where he needs to be and how busy his life is. And the dog's little thought bubble is just a picture of the dog sitting with the man. That's all the dog wants to do, is just be with their human.
Yes.
And I'm like, that connection between human and animal, whether it's horses and everything, right? My wife grew up on a farm, and she had her own horse, and that bond was so strong that they were communicating together, even though they can't use human words. It's amazing, that bond between us and animals.
Yes. And what animals teach us is to be in the moment. That's why in this cartoon that you're mentioning, the dog just sees him with his human, because that's what's happening right now in the moment. Whereas humans tend to be everywhere, but in the moment. And for animals, this can be actually very challenging because you are physically there, but mentally you are not there. So they don't have a point of reference on how to communicate with you because you're not there.
For us in our home, all of our pets, we have several, are all rescue pets we've brought into our home. For different reasons. They've entered our life. And I have a German Shepherd, and he's so smart, so talented. Like, you didn't teach him anything. And he'll walk by and just kind of boop me with his wet nose on my shoulder or my arm. Kind of give me a little nudge as he goes by, just to say hi.
Aww.
And you can see when they lay there and look and stare and gaze at you, they're just so connected to you as a human. And you feel almost guilty if you're busy or you have to go somewhere. You're like, I just want to stay home with you and just be with my pets.
Yeah, just cuddle with them.
Come on.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes I just sit on the couch and I have one dog to my right and the other dog to my left, and I'm just, petting them and thinking, okay, I should be doing something else, really. But no, I'm not. I'm going to sit here. I'm going to stay with my dogs. I'm going to be with my dogs because that's really quality time.
And it helps us with our mental health, with our stress, anxiety. There's something about them that's so disarming, that having that kind of relationship. And I have friends and family who have no pets in their home, and they're maybe allergies or whatever, for whatever reasons. And it feels odd to go into a home that doesn't have pets to me, because I've grown up with them my whole life.
Oh yeah, and they contribute to the energy in the place actually. I also have a German podcast called Tierisch Deutlich, And there I interviewed a woman that does feng shui for animals. Feng shui, the art of putting things in different places in your home so that the energy flows correctly and good. And she does that for animals. But she also told us in the interview that animals actually change the energy in a home and they can make stuck energy somewhere actually flow.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And we just recently brought a cat into our home from the rescue, and she's 10. And most people would rescue a younger cat, but we wanted to give her a great life and bring her into our home. And she's so loving, and she's finding her spot. And again, it feels like she's communicating with us when she comes around and flops down on the floor and shows some love and attention to us. It's great. I think that's why I love your podcast. I love what
Yeah.
you do, because it's something you don't hear a lot of in podcasting. We don't hear a lot of shows about what you do, which again makes you unique, because you could just talk about pet in general, but you're really super focused on your topic. And I love that you've narrowed that right down.
Yes, I think communication with animals in whatever way we communicate with them is so, so important. And we can learn so much from animals. And this is what I want to show, the different ways that we can interact with animals and to really be empathic towards animals, because that's also why the show is called Animal Empathy.
Right.
Like we really need to feel into our animals and
Right.
get this connection from our heart to our animals, and we can learn so much from them. And I think one of the most important things we can learn from our animals is unconditional love, because they
Yeah.
do love us unconditionally.
Right. Yeah. So you mentioned you have two podcasts for the podcasters listening, and they're struggling to get their first podcast going, let alone having two. Anything that you're learning about your podcast journey having two shows? Is it twice the amount of work? Is it hard? Is it easy? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it is quite hard to do two podcasts. That's why I have paused my German podcast to concentrate more on my English podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's a lot of fun, really.
Are you seeing anything as far as English speaking podcasts versus your German podcast? Are there the listenership similar for different languages that you're seeing, or is it primarily an English speaking podcast seem to be the more popular in your audience? What are you seeing as a podcaster?
Well, the good thing about the English podcast is that a lot of people in German-speaking countries also speak English. So
Good.
so really they can listen to the English podcast, whereas obviously a German podcast is just for people that speak German, and there are not so many people speaking German as, compared to English-speaking people. The
Okay.
audience
Let's
is
see.
wider, definitely.
Yeah. So we do have people who listen to this show in Germany.
Hmm.
So I don't know. Would you like to say hello to them? Because when people press play on an English podcast, they're expecting an English podcast. But then all of a sudden, someone speaks to them and they're like, wait, what? What's going on right now? But for those German listeners that are here, would you like to greet them and welcome them to the show as well?
Ja, herzlich willkommen zu diesem genialen Podcast von David. Und wenn ihr Lust habt, dann hört auch mal bei meinem Podcast rein, tierisch deutlich. Würde mich sehr freuen.
See, now that's something I can't do. And I just wish, I'm so jealous that you can just flick the switch and off you go. I love that. That's amazing. It's amazing. How long have you been podcasting altogether?
I started the German podcast in January last year. So it's actually been 1 year. And I started Animal Empathy in October, actually on the 4th of October, which is Animal World Day. I picked that date on purpose.
Smart. Smart. I like that. And so where did you learn how to do all this podcasting stuff?
I had been thinking about podcasting for quite a long time, actually. And I did a course, but somehow I got stuck. You know, when you start a course and then you come to a place within the course where you get stuck and you just can't unstuck from there. That's what
Yeah.
happened to me. And then I signed up to another course, which had a totally different approach. And then I just thought, okay, let's go. It was a podcast challenge, and I love challenges. So uh, I thought, well, I'm going to do everything on this challenge, and then I just kept going, and that's how everything unfolded, really. So really, you have to find this place where you can start going. And it's not for everybody the same space and not for everybody the same spot and not for everybody the same time. It might be that you come across a situation that triggers you and you said, I have to do a podcast about that. Or somebody says something and then all of a sudden you say, well, I need to do a podcast about that. Or whatever it is, you know. And for me, it was this challenge, this podcast challenge. I thought, well, I have been thinking about podcasting for so long, and I now have just to start doing it. Yeah.
What was your what else was your motivation for starting the show? Are you looking to make a ton of money from your podcast? Are you looking for connections? What is that underlying thing that you're hoping your podcast brings back to you as the
Well,
host?
I want to build a community of
Good.
people that all want to communicate with animals on a different level. I want to show people how much we can learn from animals and how they can communicate with animals. I want to get people to meet animals on an eye level, you know, like we're equal. You know, animals are not here for us, animals are
Right.
here with us.
Right.
And this is something a lot of people haven't realized yet, really. You know, they think, well, animals are here for us, you know, they are here to entertain us or they are here to being eaten or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But no, they are here with us. We are all earthlings. We are all part of this beautiful planet Earth. And we have to look after each other. And we can learn so much from each other, you know,
Mm.
across the different species. Animals already do that. They learn from each other. They, you know, but now we have to get into there, you know, and be part of this wonderful earth web.
We're so connected with each other. I love that. You mentioned that you were a little stuck at one point in that first course around podcasting. Do you remember in particular what element of the setup and getting your podcast going you got stuck on? What was it that
Yeah.
that kind of got you? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't even about podcasting. It was an exercise that we were supposed to do. And the exercise was what would you, what would somebody say at your funeral? You know, like, I go like, do you know what? I don't care. When I'm gone, I'm gone. I don't care what
Yeah.
people say at my funeral. But the exercise was like, write a speech that somebody would say on your funeral. And I go like,
Wow.
uh, I don't know. I mean, and I don't care. So,
Yeah.
I mean, this sounds silly, you know, in retrospective, it sounds silly. It is, I mean, I could have just gone on to the next,
Yeah.
to the next, to the next exercise or to the next module or whatever it was. But this got me so stuck, you know, I got stuck for about a year. I mean, this is crazy.
Wow.
But things like that can happen, you know. I mean, it's
Yeah.
so it happens so easily.
Yeah. I've heard a variation of that question where, what would you want people to say about you when you're not in the room? So, I want to be known for this. I want people to, when they hear my name, they think of this. That I can see maybe that correlation between a question in your podcast or your content. You want to do your best and you want people to think highly of what you're producing. So
Yeah.
I can see that variation of it, but that's a pretty final thought. I don't know if I want to be there either right now.
Yeah. And really, honestly, when I'm gone, I don't care anymore.
I love it. I love it. So tell me anything that you're working through in your podcast that is maybe a little challenging for you right now as you're getting your show out there. You talked about building community. How are you building community? Where are you doing it? I think that could help a podcaster that's listening today.
Yeah. So a big issue is basically monetizing the podcast. Let's be honest. I mean, it takes a lot of time because I'm doing everything on my own. I'm recording it. I'm editing it. I'm writing the show notes. Doing everything myself, and it takes time. It really takes time. And even though I use AI, I mean,
Yeah.
I use AI for the show notes and stuff like that, and obviously I tweak it and change it. But I mean, otherwise, without AI, let's be honest, I wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah.
And one thing I want to start is a membership. Like I'm gonna have the podcast, but there's gonna be also a membership, so that when people that want to learn how to communicate with animals, they can come onto the membership, and then they'll get exercises they can do. They'll get short lessons that they can follow and do with their animals and make, because I can give some ideas on the podcast, but I mean, I can't, give exercises and do this and do that and so on. I mean, it would be just too much for the podcast itself. So I want to help people to get a more harmonious relationship with their animal companion, to get learn how to communicate with their animal companion on another level. And that's where the membership side comes in.
Do you know where you're going to build the membership? What kind of platform you're going to use to do that?
I am actually right now looking at the German platform.
Okay.
And yeah, and they are offering also, because I want to put my online courses there. Right now, they're just in German, but I'm planning on translating them into English, with the help of AI, obviously.
Good.
I am following 2 courses on AI, and it's amazing. It's amazing what you can do with AI nowadays. I mean, and we are just at the beginning, of this whole thing. And yeah. So I can see really a lot of potential there to serve the world, really, because you can even use languages or get videos translated into languages you don't even speak.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. What AI tools are you using right now?
Right now, I'm using ChatGPT, but the professional version, so the one where you pay for it, because the ChatGPT there, the version is more advanced, but you also have a lot of other tools integrated that you can use. Yeah.
And then what about your transcriptions and stuff?
I have also used Munch, to split up videos, to actually have it make shorts out of videos. That works very well as well. So munch.com. So yeah, there's so many possibilities on what to do.
Yeah, so many great tools for podcasters right now, specifically for podcasters that are such a great time saver. Especially, again, like you and I that are doing everything ourselves. We don't have a team of 20 behind us. bringing us coffee and doing all the work for us. We're doing everything. So
Exactly.
if we don't do it, it's not going to happen. So any of those tools is great.
It is. And I have been self-employed for 25 years, over 25 years now. So, and I've been a solopreneur ever since. So solopreneur means you do everything on your own.
Yeah. Right.
And I had a VA for a short period of time at one point, and I was very disappointed by that VA. And so I thought, well, I'm gonna stuck to do it on my own again. Like I don't want to have this type of experience again. So now with AI, it's amazing. I mean, AI is perfect for all solopreneurs. So if you're thinking about starting your own business and you think, well, I can't employ people right now, don't worry, there is AI.
There's probably a tool for that somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was it about your experience with a VA that was a little frustrating? We don't have to get into the details of the person or that situation, but in general terms, what was it
Well,
that was kind of difficult for you?
she left because somebody else offered her more money.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, that's helpful.
And I thought, I really thought she was in also, for the idea of the communicating with animals, like, the place she left for was something totally different.
Yeah.
And she didn't even give me any notice. She just said, well, I can't do it anymore. That's it. So
Yeah, I think we're not really looking for an assistant. We're looking for an ally, somebody who wants to come with us and be a part of our community and support what we do and support us.
yeah,
And love what we do and has some knowledge about what we talk about, not just someone who's looking for a job. I would want somebody who really cares about the content
definitely.
and the community,
Yes,
right?
yes,
So,
definitely, yes, yeah.
yeah, it's amazing. Okay, so what's your long-term plan then? You have the membership you want to build, you want to build a community. What kind of steps are you taking towards getting to your goal? What are some of the things you're working on right now to make all this happen?
Well, actually, I just signed up to this platform that
Okay.
I was talking about.
Yep.
I signed up on the 23rd of January, and there is this option of you get 30 days for free, and then obviously you have to pay for the platform. And it's, I think, about 400 euros for a year. So my goal right now is to make those 400 euros before I have to pay the 400 euros so that the platform pays for itself.
Smart.
Yeah, so right now I'm uploading my basic course in animal communication. It's only in German so far, but I'm uploading that there, and I'm about to build a funnel. I want to create an ebook out of this course. I'm going to create an ebook, and so I'm going to create a funnel, really. I also have a freebie, which your listeners are very welcome to get as well. It's a guide to animal communication. I can give you the link. You can put it in the show notes.
Sure.
And so people can get the guide to animal communication, and after that, they're going to get the ebook. Well, not your listeners, because it's not in English yet, but it will be in the future.
Yeah.
But the idea is to get, the freebie, and then the ebook, and then obviously the course, and after that the membership side. So that's the idea for the funnel, really.
It's good. What are you doing to build engagement with your audience that are listening to your show? How do you do that?
Well, I ask them questions, really. It's so important to ask questions and to get people to think about what you're talking about in your podcast. So and make it engaging. I think that's important, to make it engaging, to make people think. And also tell people you're very welcome to contact me or ask me any questions or whatever, so that there is an interaction. For me, it is a little too little interaction. So that's why I want to build the membership site and build up a community. So because I have seen it in these months that I've been doing it, that yes, people are listening to the show, people are liking the show, but for me personally, there is too little interaction with the listeners. Yeah, that's why I want to build this community. That's
Yeah. So if I'm listening to your show and I want to reach out to you, what kind of tools are you using to capture that conversation between you and your listener?
Well, one thing is the guide to animal communication. That's for free,
Yeah.
and everybody can click there and enter their email and download it, and then
Okay.
they'll come automatically onto my newsletter list, and they'll get a
Good.
newsletter every week, so that they also know what the new show is, and I always give one or two tips that are not on the podcast in my newsletter. So that's why it's a good idea to come onto my newsletter, because then you get a little bit more information.
Yeah.
And but then obviously also you can email me. There is my email address in the show notes, and my website, speciespace.com. So yeah, the different
Nice.
ways of
What
interacting with me.
One of the things I've been using on my show is a thing called SpeakPipe, and it's a tool you can add to your website, and it collects audio messages from your listeners. So
Oh.
whether they're on a phone or they have a microphone connected to their computer, whatever, they can leave you a voice message, and it comes to you in an email. You can listen to it, download it, or you can respond in audio format back to the person who sent it to you. And what I like to do is get an audio clip from my listener and actually put it in the podcast. So a question and answer, but you can hear their voice. So it could be,
Oh.
"Hi, it's Dave from Canada. I have a question about connecting with my pets. What do you think is the best way to blah, blah, blah?" And I can send you a voice message. And then in your podcast, you can say, "I got a message from Dave in Canada. Thank you, Dave, for listening to my show. Here's Dave's question." And then you play it. You
Uh-huh.
hear my voice on your show, which
Wow.
makes me go, "Wow, I'm so excited. I'm on her show. That's my voice." And
Right.
then people get to hear your answer to my question. So then what that does is then for the other listeners, they're thinking, "Wait a minute. If I leave a voice message, maybe I can get on the show." And then
Right.
that just starts the ball rolling where you're going to get more and more feedback. And it's happening for my show, for this show. I've had people reach out to me from Warsaw, Poland. I've had people reach out to me from Australia and in the United States and around the world,
Mm.
reaching out to me and giving me questions, giving me feedback. The other thing I encourage them to do if they have a podcast like this show is I say, leave me a message, tell me about your podcast, tell us where we can find it, and then I'll put that in the show so that you get free advertisement
Yeah,
for your
right.
podcast.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So
amazing. That I didn't know about that tool. I love it. Yes.
yeah, so it's called SpeakPipe, and it's free to set up. If you use the free plan, I think you get like 90 seconds for free, and then it stops the recording.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go with the paid plan, you can get a longer recording time. But it's really simple, one click, and they can leave a message.
That's
So
amazing.
it's a nice little tool. So if you're interested, if you ever want to try it, just go to my howtopodcast.ca website, and you'll actually see the button. You click the button, and you're ready to go. If you want to try it out and see what it looks like on your end, on the listening end.
Right. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah.
So do that. Leave me a message about your show. Tell everybody about your podcasts, and then I'll play it here in the podcast so everybody can hear your voice as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
You
Great.
got some homework to do, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing around monetization we talked about earlier, the thing I've been playing with as well is called Buy Me a Coffee at buymeacoffee.com, and it's a donation site.
Uh-huh.
So you can set it up for your website, and people can donate to you for us Canadian dollars, $5 increments. You can buy you a coffee. So they can buy you one coffee, 3 coffees, 5 coffees, and they can donate to you one time or many times as much as they want to, but it comes to you as a donation, and they can donate to you and your money. And what's beautiful is it works around the globe. So that gentleman I mentioned in Warsaw, Poland, the camera that I'm using today for our recording, he bought me this camera.
Oh, wow.
Because he wanted to give value back to me for listening to all of my episodes. He said, Dave, I really enjoy your podcast. What can I get you that you need? And I said, well, I have a very inexpensive camera that I've been using from the beginning. He's like, yeah, you need a better camera. I'm going to buy you one. And he gave me coffees to equal the dollar amount to buy a new camera.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
So it's on my website. I don't talk about it a lot, but for people who find value in my show, there's a way for them to give value back.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Right? We have to make it easy for people to reach out to us and leave us a message or donate if they want to donate.
Right.
Right. So those are 2 little options for you, Buy Me a Coffee and SpeakPipe, that you could add easily to your email signature, your social media, your LinkedIn, whatever.
Exactly.
And that just gives people the opportunity to give back to you as the host.
That's right.
And be a part of your community. And I think that would help you to build your membership site up as well, because you can earn some money from your listeners if they want to. And you can also get that engagement to go up a little notch by having that back and forth with your audience as you're building your membership site.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
yeah.
And then I know with you, what's interesting with you is you have clients, you have people in your community, you have people who could give you a testimonial, what it's like to work with you, what it's like to read your books and be a part of your podcast family. You could have people leaving you messages that you could put into your podcast. Again, the joy of hearing my voice on your podcast makes me excited, and I want to share it with everyone but I was on your show.
Yeah, that's right. But I think, that might work with the English podcast.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure this would work with my German podcast. And, because I think it's a little bit of a cultural thing here.
Okay.
I mean, I have guests on my German podcast, Hier ist deutlich, I have solo episodes, and then I have guests, and then I have another solo episode, and I have guests. But I really started to struggle to get guests onto my show. And I was asking people, and people were saying, oh, no, I'm so busy on, no, I don't want to. And I talked to one of my customers and just, saying, like, what's happening here? My one of my long year customer. And then she said, well, it's a cultural thing. And I go like, what do you mean? And then she says, we were raised in a way that, you keep to yourself. Like German people and Swiss people were raised that way. You keep to yourself. You don't go out into the world and, saying how brave you are, how good you are, what you can do, and so on and so forth.
Right.
We are raised in a different way than, for example, people in the US, where you go and you there's competition and this and that, and you get a blue band for this and a blue band for that, or I don't know what, and,
right.
And we are totally different, here in Switzerland and Germany. It's more like, well, you do what you have to do, but you keep it to yourself in a way, sort of, and I think people thinking that if they leave a voice message, they will end up in my show. It's going to freak some people out. I can tell you that.
There you go. Yeah, that's a great point. I love that. And that's what I love about different cultures as well. And I think the big thing is maybe wording it where instead of being promoting themselves, it's more about giving value. So maybe they have a story that brings value to your audience that could help someone. or they have a resource, or they have something that they could give. I think in that sense, it's more contributing than look at me, look at me. I think that might be another way to kind of frame it for your audience that would help them possibly.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, and I actually approach people that way, but still people
So,
say,
yeah.
I'd rather not to. Like, okay.
Well, the beautiful thing too, like here in Canada, we have a large German population in Canada that have migrated to this part of the world, and they love connecting with home. They love connecting with their roots and their family and their culture. And they're so disconnected by being in Canada that hearing your podcast takes them back to another place. So I think you need to celebrate what's unique about that podcast and that audience, because it's going to draw people from around the world who miss home, and they miss those elements where they're surrounded by look at me, where they live now, that they want to go feel like they're back home with you, and hearing your voice and hearing your stories brings them back. So they find a lot of value just in listening to that part of your podcast.
Yeah. I mean, Tierisch Deutlich has 47 episodes, so a lot of episodes they can listen to.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, we're going to wrap up here in a moment, but just wondering from your perspective, anything that you're seeing in podcasting that makes you really excited? You're like, I can't wait. I want to try this, or I'm really excited about this. Is there anything in podcasting that's really, really making you happy right now?
Well, to tell you the truth, it's AI.
Just AI.
It's my, I mean, you can clone your voice nowadays. I mean, you can go on to a platform, speak for about 2-3 minutes, and then AI will clone your voice. And then you can have, your transcript, let's say in English, and let's say you want to have it you want the audio to be in Italian, okay, or any other language.
Yeah.
And then you actually click on the button and you get an AI cloned voice, your cloned voice speaking in Italian. I mean, it's not just an AI voice, like that you select,
robot voice,
but it's your cloned voice speaking in Italian. I mean, this is freaking great.
The only thing I'm afraid of with this is if I was to travel to Italy and I'm standing in line and for some reason, somehow someone recognized me, maybe a shirt I was wearing, and they started speaking to me in Italian, thinking that I can speak Italian. I'd need my AI tool to be like, wait a minute. Push my phone. I don't know how to speak Italian. My phone does, but I don't know how to do that. So I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is amazing. AI is opening so much potential there, if we know how to use it and if we know how to implement things. Yeah. So I think the most exciting, I'm most excited for the AI possibilities, really.
I love it. Okay, so let's do this at the end here as we close off. Again, tell everybody about your 2 podcasts, and we'll put all the information in the show notes, as always, like you mentioned. You mentioned that you have a giveaway. We'll put that in the show notes as well.
A guide to animal communication for everybody that wants to learn how to communicate with their animal.
And you need to do that, obviously. I love that. But tell everybody where your show is, all that information, and we'll close off here and say goodbye. But thank you so much for doing this. We really like having you on the podcast. It's great.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So tell everybody where we can find you.
Where you can find me?
Yeah, your website and everything, and all your information.
Sure. Well, you can find me at speciesspace.com. That's my website. You can find me on Facebook. I've got animal empathy site, so look for Animal Empathy, then you can find me there. You can find me on YouTube, also Species Space. So, and at my podcasts, Tierisch Deutlich and Animal Empathy.
Awesome. We'll put links to all those in the show notes. Thank you so much for doing this. We're going to get together on my Living the Next Chapter podcast and talk to you over there as well. So I'm going to talk to you about your author journey and all that exciting stuff as well. So I'm excited to have you join me there. And that'll be kind of a round 2 to have a conversation together. So thank you so much for doing this. I'm glad to have you here.
Definitely. Thank you.
Awesome. Everyone, all the information in the show notes. Go and support another great podcaster. And when, in the future, the Buy Me a Coffee is set up, make sure everybody donates and leave a message if SpeakPipe is in your future for your podcast. Let's all leave messages and fill up her inbox and let everybody know, let her know how much we love her podcast. So thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you for sticking all the way through to the very end. It's bittersweet that the episode is over and that we're done for this episode, but you will come back and I will come back, and there's you and me, and we're one big happy family here at the How to Podcast series, far beyond being just pod pals, which is fine, but I'd much rather do life together as family here. And to that end, a reminder, as we talked earlier in other episodes as well, that we do have a meetup group and you are invited. I would love to have you come. It's free. We do them scattered throughout our calendar, different days, different times, because we have people listening around the world, like Kuba and Warsaw, Poland. Hi, Kuba. It's amazing how we can reach the world with a podcast. So through our meetup group, what we do is we get together. It's free for you. Costs me money, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. We get together, we meet other podcasters, we talk podcasting, and it's a way to get from behind the microphone, sitting by ourselves, recording on our own, and doing community. Podcasters need community. You need to meet other podcasters. And just in a low-key, fun environment, talk podcasting. So my challenge to you in 2024 and beyond is to get into a meetup group, find other podcasters, introduce yourself, and make new friends. It's just like school all over again, grade 9. Let's meet each other and share the podcast journey. Go to howtopodcast.ca and click on all the information you'll find there around our meetups. And I'd love to have you there. Thanks for listening. Catch you on the next episode. Get out there and record your podcast. Take care.